He woke up and said his arm was numb.
February 2005, middle of the night. Patty and Kyle were sound asleep in their bedroom when Seth called out from across the hall.
He woke up and told us he thought he was having one.
Said, "Mom and Dad, I'm having a TIA."
Yeah, yeah.
His cry in the night was what Seth's parents had dreaded ever since he was diagnosed with progeria. Seth was having a seizure known as a TIA, a precursor to a stroke that briefly cuts off the blood supply to the brain. How many of these mini strokes has Seth had?
He's had a few.
Customary for senior citizens, not 11-year-olds, Seth's seizure had all the classic signs: facial paralysis, slurred speech, and overall numbing. How did he look, Kyle?
A little bit scared.
Hattie and Kyle immediately sprung into action.
We're both in there to calm him down and comfort him.
But in the back of their minds, there was unimaginable fear. Fear they live with every day, the way other adults are terrified of that late-night phone call about their elderly parents.
You never know, is this the time, that it's going to be the end.
But after about 10 minutes, the symptoms subsided, and the ordeal was over, for now.
It's scary for us. I can't imagine being in his body when that's happening.
Patty Cook says her family's deep Christian faith has helped them cope with Seth's progeria and manage their grief.
I pray a lot. I definitely rely on God for a lot of strength, because if I had to do this on my own, I'd be a basket case.
What do you pray for?
Anytime I pray, I really do make sure to thank God for the things that I have.
That's beautiful.
Every moment that I have with Seth, I really do thank him for that.
And how much time do they have?
Most children with progeria live into their teens. We're getting close. We really are. Time's ticking.
Still, they have hope, even new hope.
There are some really dedicated doctors out there working on a cure for progeria.
But none more dedicated than this woman, Dr. Leslie Gordon, a hero in the progeria community.
We're in a race to save every child with progeria.
Dr. Gordon and her husband, Dr. Scott Burns, both trained in pediatric medicine, founded the Progeria Research Foundation in 1999. And just 3 years later, a breakthrough.
The researchers involved have found the gene for progeria.
Researchers found that in progeria, a random DNA mutation produced an abnormal cell, causing the cell's accelerated breakdown and aging.
The goal is to turn this back into this. And the goal is also to prevent this from happening in the first place.
Put your most optimistic look on the search for a cure.
I'm very hopeful that we could find significant treatments within the next few years.
And put your most realistic look on the search for a cure.
I think that's realistic.
Dr. Gordon, who was recently profiled in the New York Times Magazine, is also excited that any breakthroughs in progeria research might lead to better understanding of aging in the general population as well. Though the scientist in her knows that research like this takes time, the mother in her can't wait that long. And that's because Leslie and Scott are parents of a boy with progeria. 9-year-old Sam. He was diagnosed before his second birthday.
It's not just Sam, it's all of these children. Once you know a child with progeria, you love them and you want to do everything you can for that child.
Back in Darrington, spring 2005, Seth is showing signs of physical deterioration since we began covering him 4 months earlier.
In the cool forest.
His teachers, who see him all the time, have noticed.
He looks older, and his hands, I can definitely see that in his hands.
The arthritis?
Mm-hmm.
The arthritis in his knees particularly is worsening. He's now so stiff he can no longer reach down to tie one of his shoes.
When I realized he couldn't tie his left shoe, it was kind of a shocker to me.
So we just move your extremities and all.
Several times a week, Seth works on his flexibility and physical therapy in school, while his classmates get to play outside.
He's getting pretty stiff in his left hip and hands.
Back home at night, another important health ritual.
Seth, it's your favorite time of day.
Medicine. Plavix is a blood thinner designed to prevent or delay the most serious threats, heart attack and stroke. And Plavix is a drug that a lot of older people take, actually, right?
Yeah. It's nasty.
Nasty stuff?
Yeah.
Go ahead and get yourself some water.
Because the pill's too big for Seth's throat, and to cut the awful taste, Patty pulverizes it and blends it with ice cream. Not a topping any child would want.
Big bite, ready?
But it still tastes terrible. Just another indignity Seth endures with a gulp and a grimace. Statistics show that many marriages don't survive a child's destructive disease. But Patty and Kyle say it's been the opposite with them.
He's been such a blessing in our lives.
What have you learned from Seth?
How fragile life is, for one.
I've learned a lot about choices, too. You never will have control of your circumstances, but you do have control of your choices. And he's made a choice to enjoy his life, and so why wouldn't we?
If people watching this worry about you, what do you want them to know?
I'm doing fine.
And to hear Seth, the boy in a hurry, tell it, he'll be fine forever.
I can't wait to get to heaven.
Can't wait. Heaven is a subject most sixth graders never think about, but Seth brought it up himself. Patty says Seth doesn't fear death, and he's anxious to see his late grandfather in heaven.
I remember about 7 or 8, we told him that he probably would go see Jesus before we did. And he thought that was thoroughly okay.
What do you think heaven's like?
I'm going to go fishing with the Lord, fishing for Swedish fish, and hunting gummy bears and chocolate rabbits. It's guaranteed you catch at least 10 fish a day.
And you don't have to throw them back.
And you don't have to throw them back.
Sounds like a nice place.
It's going to be.
He said, I can't wait to go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say, please don't hurry.
Yeah.
I've told him to be patient. I've explained to him that you're here for a purpose, and don't be in such a hurry because God's got a job for you to do. And it may take a while before he calls you home.
A once-in-a-lifetime love. A love like we've all dreamed of. It may go disguised right before your eyes. A once-in-a-lifetime love.
You can learn more about Progeria on our website. The address is dateline.msnbc.com. Later on Dateline, in a close